Thank you very much. We did share notes, not that we knew which order we were going in, we did share notes beforehand to make sure we didn't have the same three ideas, but as you'll hear from my talk, there's a degree of overlap between the three of us. And in fact, I was going to start off with hard work, because I think that is the key to a successful career, I'm afraid. There's no shirking away from that. But actually, as we've talked about hard work, that is not one of my three. What I am going to talk about instead is with your own career and looking at mine, which hasn't at all been sort of pre-planned. It's sort of ended up where it is. But the one thing that's happened during it is I haven't been afraid to take risks with it. When Helen and I are Freshfields refugees. I was there too for a while, and Freshfields, the private client team, had a fantastic practice with some great partners to work for and some great colleagues. And I was quite a junior when I tried to qualify into private client, and to say that I wasn't encouraged would be an understatement. I was positively discouraged by the trainee partner at the time, who told me it was a sort of graveyard. And I had to fight quite hard to get into it in a firm which was obviously predominantly corporate, and at the time had, as I said, an amazing private client practice. And yet 2 years later, I left. Not because I foresaw the downturn. I'd like to say I could see it coming and I left because I could see it coming. I didn't. I just knew inside that I wanted to do more international work than I could possibly get even at Freshfields. So I left, having fought hard, and took a risk with my career for the second time, and went to Bermuda and went away from private practice in-house. And that was because I think there was something inside me that said, this is the area of work that I like to do, and I'm not going to get that experience here at Freshfields. I need to go somewhere else to get a broader experience. And Bermuda was an amazing time. When I interviewed at Macfarlanes, I had a hard time persuading the partners I actually worked harder in Bermuda than I did at Freshfields, but I did. I was one 2-year qualified lawyer who was the sole source of legal advice on 2,000 trusts. And I lost a lot of sleep in the first year, but it really was a very, very fast and steep learning curve. And the obvious thing to do when you've done 3.5 years in Bermuda is to look for another island to spend time in and take your career to another level. But no, that's not that. That's the easy course. Actually, I thought private practice is really what I love. So back I came to London, having had 3.5 years away from tax, into another serious private client firm, and put myself at the mercy of some of my colleagues who are very talented lawyers who've been here for about 4 or 5 years, and tried to catch up. So that was quite a hard year or two until I got back on track with them. And I think that's the point. If you want to do something, you've got to, whether it's with your own career decisions or with the work that you're doing, you really do have to be prepared to take risks to get what you want, and not to be afraid to do that. So that leads me on to my second point, because if you are going to take risks in what is a very challenging industry with some very difficult and demanding clients, you are also going to make mistakes. And the one thing you need to know about mistakes is that everybody makes them. And some of them are big mistakes and some of them are little mistakes, but mistakes do get made at whatever level you are. And the most important thing about mistakes is to not be afraid of them, but to learn from them. And if you learn from your mistakes, then actually you'll be a stronger person going forward, because you've tried to do something and it hasn't quite worked out. However, the test in whether you have learned from your mistakes is really how you actually deal with them. If you worry about it and get stressed about it, and you don't talk to your colleagues and try and solve it immediately, actually it'll get worse. And if you don't deal with mistakes well, that's a sign of a lack of confidence in your own abilities, lack of confidence in your colleagues. Whereas actually, if you deal with the mistake as soon as you've identified it, you'll quite often find there's a solution, and it's certainly not half as bad as you think it's going to be. So, don't be afraid to take risks. Be prepared to make mistakes, but if you do make mistakes, learn from them. And the last thing I'm pleased to say is something that all three of us mentioned, and it's something that we share. I think we're all, as lawyers and as investment managers, and hearing your experience about how you felt about values at Goldman Sachs, I totally understand that, not particularly about Goldman Sachs, but the idea of having, particularly in private client, we are relationship junkies. That's why we're in private client. It's all about the relationship that you build with your clients, and hopefully once you've got them, admittedly if you have to get them under pressure and shed them, that's a bit difficult, but normally in our business you have a bit more time than they allow you with Goldman's to build really lasting and fulfilling relationships. A lot of these people are never going to become your best friends, but they can become really interesting and entertaining people to work for, and you can end up working for them for 20 years and get to know their families and their children. And that is a real bonus on top of the work and the technical challenges that Helen referred to as well. So I really do think that we have this brilliant industry that means that not only can you have academic and intellectual challenges, but you work with some of the most dynamic and successful people who are around, and you can build relationships with them. So, I mean, you're working with talented colleagues for talented clients, and that's a pretty good industry to be in. So, relationships are what it's really all about, and that's what we try and focus on all the time.
Super.
Thank you very much.